Well, hello there everybody and welcome back to Marcelian Online. Today, the 11.1.5 patch just released and what the fuck is going on?
This is fine.
Lag spikes galore. We cannot disable the Addon Profiler anymore. The event is bugged and doesn't load up, and vaults are giving you duplicate items. There have been issues with the game that have been bubbling over the course of the last couple of months, and we have hesitated going into it because the game has been going good so far and we don't want to make an overly negative video. But bro, enough is enough, man. What's going on right now and why are players just taken for granted at this point? Let's actually address all of these issues right now, which are, in my opinion, three big issues. One would be the game optimization and FPS issues, which is not anything new, but it's a little bit different this time. Two would be the actual event and functionality of the content that is being released in 11.1.5. And three, why is there no quality assurance team at Blizzard? And if there is, are they on vacation? Let's talk about the game's performance and what exactly do you need to be able to play World of Warcraft in 2025? What kind of a computer do you need? Does it need to run program software for NASA shuttles? Or can it just run any other video game? Because mine runs Monster Hunter Wilds, as best as Monster Hunter Wilds can run these days. Baldur's Gate 3, which are way more new games on the market than World of Warcraft, and run it way smoother than WoW. And how are we going to address the FPS issues that we've had so far? One thing that was able to kind of mitigate the situation was the Addon Profiler that Blizzard has added into the system, I believe, half a patch ago, about in 11.05, where you can actually see where the CPU usage is going towards your add-ons or what is actually eating up your resources in a very limited way, but still you were able to tell. We could also disable that with a WeCar app, drastically improving, let's say, our overall performance by gaining about 10 to 20 to maybe even 30 FPS depending on a case-by-case basis. And now that cannot be disabled anymore because Blizzard implemented a fix to make sure that is always on. Now, I don't know about you, but right now I am playing WoW at almost zero quality graphics with only adding some spell effects to be able to see when things happen around me. And I am rocking about 20 to 30 FPS in dungeons. And if you have watched any of our content, especially the raid content, especially streams, especially videos that we post on our channel with raid footage that we record, because who else would we use the raid footage from? You will see massive FPS drops. You might think that that might be just an editing issue or a rendering issue, but no, that is literally how the game plays at the moment. And we had the option of maybe just not using that footage or doing something else, but at this point, there's no other way to gain this footage. And I have raided in Mythic and Heroic with one of my friends that has a way better computer than mine, and he has worse issues with worse graphical settings. What world are we living in today? And now we cannot even disable the add-on profile to even gain about 20 FPS. Which was accurately pointed out by Theon on Twitter, or X at this point, where he was getting about 20 to 25 FPS. This is right now unplayable. Over the last couple of years, we've been doing raids on Saturday with the community, almost every Saturday as much as possible, and in the last few weeks, twitch.tv/Marcelian&Online, like and subscribe, it's actually a follow, but that doesn't matter, you can check our streams for more and more WoW content as we play the game, but that's not important right now, because what's important right now is that I cannot play the raid anymore. It is so laggy. Everything is reduced. I think at one point I even deleted all of my WeCars and all of my add-ons and it's still barely working, bro. This is unacceptable at this point and it just makes me actually not want to raid anymore. A few weeks ago we were doing about 2 to 3 raids per day on our stream and now I barely want to finish one. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people actually feel this way and it's making it harder and harder to actually log into the game with these FPS issues. We all know the problems with WoW and how it's using the processors and how many cores it's using versus how many cores it's not using. Okay, I understand, but at which point are we going to be paying customers for a live service game that doesn't function properly? And I'm not even gonna spend too much time on FPS issues because there's other things that we need to talk about. One of which being the actual content of 11.1.5 that we tested on the PTR. By the way, we made a video about a month ago where I went through the content as well. I played with a bunch of players on the PTR, no, but as well, shout out, brother. And it was so laggy and so buggy, things just despawn, things were not spawning at all, that I just, oh, okay, this is probably PTR, right? This is not how the game is going to release in the end, right? Right? Wrong! Well, the last boss at the very least does not contribute to your overall contribution for the event's progress, on top of other bugs that we have currently in the game, like the vault being data mined to reward duplicate items for people in their vault slots. And get this, if you have opened your vault so far, that cannot be reverted. So good luck to you. See you next week. Fix has been announced, I think about 10 minutes ago before we started recording this, that this is going to be fixed by tomorrow morning. Assuming that whoever opened the vault so far and got duplicate items in their vault slots is not going to see this change whatsoever. So are we not going to open the vaults right now? When we log into the game, whenever a reset happens, do we just not do anything on the off chance that something is broken that needs to be fixed, and then we lose whatever progress or rewards we were gaining at that time until that fix is being launched? Listen, I understand that this is a live service games and bugs and issues still happen. That's fine. That's not the issue. The issue is that the bugs and issues constantly happen and fixes are being delivered way too late with no kind of compensation. I'm not asking for compensation right here, but I've been playing live service games for years and years and years, and a lot of other companies much smaller than Blizzard actually offer some feel-good tokens to people to kind of alleviate these bad feelings that you have for paying a subscription for a game, bro. People come off work to try to play World of Warcraft, hitting a 8 to I don't know how many hours maintenance runs for NA players as well. Patches drop whenever expansions launch and you cannot play the game even though you took days off of work for that to actually happen. And guess what? Blizzard's response? Tough luck. I'm not asking for handouts or free things. I don't even care if they don't do that. But what actually irks me the most is the PTR testing that players actually do for every single patch with zero incentive to do that PTR testing. Let me tell you about another game that Blizzard has in their arsenal, which is Diablo 4. You might have heard Diablo 4 had its own issues, but prior to the game being released, there was a beta cycle, and I did mention this plenty of times before, and in that beta cycle, players were incentivized to log in and test the game. It had some server issues, had some lag issues, build issues, balance issues, whatever, right? We went in, tested it, and guess what? People who got to like level 20 or whatever it was during that beta testing would get a cosmetic reward that they could use when the game released live. That would be a way to incentivize people going into the PTR. Again, I don't want free stuff, but how are you going to solve these issues that we detect on the PTR when the game launches if you don't even have the players on the PTR? Because what you're essentially asking is like, guys, we don't have a good paid enough QA team to test our game, so please hop on the PTR, test it for us so that you can actually play the game that you pay for. And you don't get to play the game that you pay for because you have to test the game that will release so that when it releases, you can play it for about a month before the next PTR launches for the next patch that you have to test, because if you don't test the game, you don't get to play a good enough game. And even if you do test the game, we might still have 11.1.5 launch in the state that it is today. It's not surprising to anybody that's been keeping up with how Blizzard has been developing along the years that the QA team is sorely lacking. I understand that the WoW team is currently split into about 3 other teams that each work on the individual expansions of the World Soul Saga, and they have more and more developers now than ever before to make the game bigger and better and better. And yes, the scope and the content in itself is good in theory. Once it gets into practice, that's a totally different situation. I don't think skimping on the QA team and firing dozens and hundreds of people that are supposed to make the game better is good. Whenever we get a patch released with a lot of bugs and a lot of things not working as intended, you have to think, okay, did somebody actually test this before it was released? Probably not at this point. That would have to be the logical conclusion as this, because it's impractical to have bugs and issues with every patch release. Was there a patch in the last couple of years where we didn't have big bugs while it was released? At which point does the bottle fill up and starts to spill over? That is my actual question. World of Warcraft is the biggest MMO on the market. It probably has still the biggest player base out of all of the MMOs right now. It's one of the biggest franchises and games ever made in the entire world from one of the biggest game producers, Blizzards, in the entire world. I am not savvy as to how things are being worked and developed and managed at Blizzard, how people are paid or not being paid, what kind of job openings they have. Like, I don't know the business side of things, right? And me trying to understand the business side of things is me trying to be a little bit either empathic or tolerant or understanding of both sides of the discussion so that we're not one-sidedly arguing against the wall, because sometimes consumers have that habit of essentially ignoring the other part of the argument and just asking for what they want now. But I don't see any other way to approach this topic except from the perspective of somebody who is paying for a product, for a service that's being promised a product and a service that's just not working as advertised. Again, this is not something new, but it keeps adding and adding and adding and adding and adding and adding. And how many good things this expansion is doing, I feel like the bad things just sometimes eclipse all of the other stuff, and it makes it very difficult to enjoy the game. We don't like making these types of videos, and we hope we never have to make them ever again, because we just want to log in and play the game. But it's been getting harder and harder to log in and actually play consistently with all of the bugs and errors that we don't even mention in this video, because what's the point, man? Everybody knows at this point. We've been doing it for so long. The question at the end of the day is, are we being taken for granted as players? Because we will stick with Blizzard to thick and thin and through big piles of shit that happen over the years. Remember Shadowlands. But at which point are we going to feel heard and take our feedback for granted? Nobody's giving us any transmogs, any rewards for testing all of this stuff on the PTR. Whenever we're posting these issues, we're making content creators, not just us, making videos about issues, bugs, glitches, balance tuning, content problems. We've been doing this for years and years and years before the patches released. They're never getting fixed in time. What's the point in having early access to the game? What's the point of having PTR and beta access to the game when we test, feedback these, and only like 20 to 30% get fixed? Maybe there's just too many. Maybe the game is not designed properly that is generating all of these issues. I don't know, man. I'm a dumbass that likes to swing a big axe at big monsters, and right now that's coming in slideshows on PowerPoint. What do you think? How was your 11.1.5 patch release experience been so far? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching the video, and also make sure to check this one out, because if you're going to be playing WoW, might as well be playing a Windwalker or with a Windwalker, because Windwalkers are secretly pretty good this patch.